I guess we could wait one more minute. But I think Jonathan, Bob, Patty, Brenda are here. And myself. And Kazo's not going to be here, so. Okay, I'm going to read the mandatory announcement that I have to go through every week, okay? So, good evening, everyone. This is the regular meeting of the West Hartford Prevention Council. Welcome. The meeting will come to order. This is Carl Shields, Chair of the West Hartford Prevention Council. I'd like to welcome you to the virtual April 8th meeting of the council because in-person attendance of public meetings is likely to increase the risk of transmission of COVID-19. This meeting is being conducted in accordance with Governor Lamont's Executive Order number 7B, which permits municipalities to conduct public meetings virtually. Commission members and some town staff are participating by WebEx, and members of the public can access this meeting by calling 1-408-418-9388 and using access code 132-088-4116. Because of the virtual format, there are some special rules and procedures that I need to cover before we begin. These are for all the commission meetings. First, I ask that all participants please mute your devices when you are not speaking. If you wish to be recognized, please raise your hand and I will call on you. If you are participating via audio only, or I do not call on you and the debate is ending, please unmute your phone and let me know so that I can recognize you. Second, pursuant to Executive Order 7B, all speakers must state their name and title each time they speak. Third, because of the difficulty in tallying voice votes on a video conference, I will require that votes be taken by roll call. Fourth, I would like to describe how the hand-raising process will work. Unfortunately, our conference technology does not allow us to identify individual caller by name. So when the public comment portion of the meeting begins, which is near the very end, the moderator will randomly unmute one call in line at a time and ask everyone to state their name one at a time. The voice that we hear will belong to the person whose line is unmuted. That person will then be recognized by the moderator and asked to restate their name and provide their street address. We will repeat this process until we have unmuted every phone line. It is very important that you state your name each time you are prompted by the moderator. If the moderator unmutes a phone line and does not hear a voice after the prompt, that phone line will be removed from the conference. I will now call the roll. Howard Deshefsky. No. Kadzo Kangwana. I believe I got an email from Kadzo saying she would not be present this evening. Brenda McEwen.
Present.
Okay. Jonathan Merritt.
Present.
Nordia Napier.
Present.
I'm sorry? No? Okay.
She's
Bob,
present. I'm sorry, Carl. Nordia is present. She said present. It was cut off a little.
Okay, I thought I might have heard her. Okay, thank you, Helen. Bob Macca.
Present.
Patricia Graham.
Present.
And I'm present. Okay, so that's the roll call. And we also have some ex officio members and representatives from a variety of places. And I just want to welcome all of you who are taking your time and energy to be with us tonight. And it's always lovely to have guests, and we welcome your expertise and knowledge that contribute to this board. It's very, very welcome. We thank you for what you do and what you contribute. So I think the first thing on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from March 11th, 2021, taken by Jonathan Merritt. And as always, they were quite comprehensive and inclusive. Any questions, comments, revisions to the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept.
Motion to accept, Bob Macca.
Thank you, Bob. And a second?
Patty Graham,
Done.
I'll second.
Okay, all in, Howard, how do you vote on that? Aye or nay? We have to take a vote on this. Oh, I'm sorry. Howard's not here. Brenda?
Aye.
Jonathan?
Aye.
Nordia?
Abstain.
Okay, and I accept. So one abstention and the rest accept. Okay. Old business, community wellness assessment. Well, are Suleiman and Brianna here and myself? We've been doing a lot of work on this over the last month since last we met. And as incredible as it sounds, we only have about a month left on this process. It seems like we've been talking about it forever, but it really is going to be coming to an end. At last, the surveys did go out to people, and I believe went out to the council members along with a letter of introduction. And Suleiman or Brianna, do you want to fill us in, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I think Brianna ended up having.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. You can go ahead, Brianna.
No, go ahead. It's okay.
Yeah, I know initially we were gonna just post like the link in the chat here and kind of encourage people when they had the time to go ahead and fill out the survey, and definitely we're reaching out to like a lot of the key informants in West Hartford and hoping to get some really good feedback on some of the priorities that can hopefully help to drive the prevention efforts that maybe this council may look into next year. So it's something that we're definitely encouraging people to, I think, also forward along if you think, okay, there's other people in your organization that you feel would be good to have their input as well. What we can do is I can just post the chat in the link, post the link in the chat, and we also do have kind of like a draft email that you would be able to kind of send out with some background information as well. I think we'd have to kind of chat with Brianna because I think she was going to be on via computer, but I think she ended up having to be on via phone. So we can send that out to the group, maybe with the meeting minutes or in some way, so we'll have that information as well.
Okay, and the actual survey should take about 15 to 18 minutes is what we anticipate, Suleiman. And the number of questions again is 38 or thereabouts.
I think it's like 35 or so questions. So I know obviously a lot of us don't like quizzes and they haven't been in school for a while. But we definitely think it'd be great to get some meaningful feedback, and we're hoping that this will at least be a push into doing some more evidence-based interventions and prevention efforts in the future. Just at least having some feedback from community members.
Okay. The return date for these is April 23rd. So it's really just 2 weeks away. So we're really hoping that people can return these and that you can distribute them to people from your perspective. It's critically important to hear from. You would know best within your organization who that may be. So feel free to forward it to those people in your organization, whether it be clinicians or social workers or people in the police department, fire department, civil servants, teachers, people who are working in this area, mental health, or policymakers, or people who are on the front lines of doing this sort of work, or the social services network that helps people, or ancillary services, or citizens who you think just their opinion matters. Any resident is welcome to fill out this survey out, and the more responses, the better, I think. Diversity is always welcome, always welcome. And this has never been done to this extent in West Hartford. So the broader the response, the better I think it will represent what we can say about West Hartford, about different neighborhoods, and about West Hartford as a whole. Can it compare? Can we compare it in a year or two if we do it again or someone does it again? Hopefully, but that will depend on how well of a response we get this year and in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be embedded within the letter, as Suleiman said, and hopefully you can forward it on and do it yourselves. It's important because next council meeting is going to be the final report. So whatever you fill out and forward to people in your organizations and ask them to fill it out, it's going to go into the data that gets reported out and into the graphs that we're going to show next council meeting, and the recommendations that this council will have a chance to look at and review and say, well, based on what the citizens are saying and what the data says, maybe we should put our efforts here. That's why this matters. So it's kind of crunch time in the next couple of weeks. Yes, Helen.
This is Helen Rubino, Turco, Director of Leisure. Wondering about the timeline. When are the surveys with their cover notes going out?
Suleiman?
Yeah, so I think I'm texting with Brianna now, and I believe she should be able to, like, so we already sent out kind of the survey and like the cover note to the list of stakeholders that we had. And so far we've only kind of gotten like 4 so people responding. So this week we're gonna kind of send out individual letters to each person kind of with a reminder. I did post a link here, but I think hopefully when Brianna gets back, she has kind of essentially what we sent out to those stakeholders, and we'll send it out to the council, so you guys can just go ahead and copy and paste and send that along to anyone who you would like to.
Perfect, thank you.
Sorry guys. I'm just coming home from work, so that's why I'm on my phone, not on the computer. But yeah, I did send it out to the list of stakeholders we had. We did have a few responses from people stating that they were no longer in the position that we had listed, but they were going to forward it along to others. So we thought that that was a good idea and a good way to reach out to more people. So I can send out the email to everyone. I thought I did before, but now that I'm looking at it on my phone, it looks like it didn't actually go through. So I am going to probably have to individually send it to emails because I tried to reply all to one of Jackie's emails. So I think that's what got messed up. So I will send that to everyone as soon as I get home, and that way it's easier for you guys to know what's going on and just forward it along to anybody else.
We talked in our supervision yesterday, because of the massive amount of work that's gone into this, rather than a mass redistribution to the stakeholders group, to individualize it to one stakeholder, put their name and title on it, and send it to them specifically, and ask them to fill it out and to respond, to personalize it, because we think it's that important to get this data back and to get these responses back. And hopefully that will get a higher response rate for us. But if you could talk it up in your meetings or staff meetings, group meetings, or even share it as a link in your staff meetings, that would be very helpful, because I'm sure you'll be getting it as a link in a communication. You could make copies of that or distribute it, copy and paste in your staff meeting minutes. That would be wonderful. Because this is what your area of expertise is, much more than mine or Suleiman's or Brianna's. You folks work in this area year round, so we're hoping that we can capture that and see what your needs are and go in the right direction in the next couple of years. I'll also be writing in the next couple of weeks an introduction for the report. Hopefully, if we have sufficient data and it's beefy enough, we may even print up some hard copies to distribute, perhaps for the council members, because that's always kind of nice to look at and see everything in one place, or for town council members, depending on if we have recommendations that come about. Last summer, right before the break in the council, before the summer, I distributed, I think, 6 massive documents for people to look at before we undertook this project. And maybe this year, this report might be something for council members to look at before we proceed with recommendations to the town council about where to expend the council's efforts or funds if we have recommendations. So I think it's that important. That's why I'm, I guess, pleading for a higher response, and also that this is going to go to each of you for feedback on your perception of where we should proceed from here once the report is finalized. And we're going to spend time in the next meeting going over some of it. We already have a brief infrastructure in the works for that. Any questions about that? Okay. LPC Grant Activities report.
Hello, good evening, everyone. This is Jacqueline Zia Edgar, Social Services Liaison for the Council. As you all know, we have $7,141.55 to spend through the LPC grant. One of the activities that we have been able to confirm is the presentation on vaping by Ms. Tricia Dell of the Yale School of Medicine. This presentation will take place during our regularly scheduled council meeting on June 10th. The cost is $50, and the title of the presentation is What You Need to Know About Youth Vaping Prevention, Initiation, and Intervention. So she will probably present for the first 35 minutes and with a Q&A for 10 minutes. She will conclude with some intervention strategies and some information on the Vaping Cessation program for Yale University that's funded through the American Heart Association. So that's one activity that we have been able to confirm. The second activity involves the Seeing Through the Vapor Vaping Awareness for Teens. We've been able to narrow down the option that will work best for students, middle school students, high school students, and parents. That is a virtual on-demand option that will be featured as 3 separate web pages with 3 separate passwords that will be given to either middle school, high school, or a parent. Each web page will contain a 30-minute virtual presentation by Mr. Hankinson. We are featuring these different links for the web pages, and we're proposing different platforms like our Facebook page, maybe the West Hartford Public Library. The price for these different web pages is $1,500. This is something that we need to kind of decide if we think it's worthwhile. But it's also one of the activities that we are considering. And then the other thing that we are considering is a $500 contribution to the Heron Project. Through Natalie, I would like to also make available the purchase of bracelets that can be with an anti-vaping message that can be distributed to students as another way that it's definitely a fundable item through our LPC grant. And in regards to the coalition training that you see listed under the grant activities report, we attended a coalition training focusing on the development of a coalition using the strategic prevention framework, which includes steps such as assessment and capacity building and planning and implementation and evaluation. And how do we fulfill all these steps in our coalition? I don't know if you remember Mr. Kenneth Plurd. He was with us. He was an active participant in the Prevention Council, and he is now with the Prevention Training and Technical Assistance Service Center. And he may be available to offer us a training, not maybe this year, but maybe for our next council meetings that will start up again in September of this year. We are looking to possibly offer that as well. And we are working with the West Hartford Community Television through Jennifer Evans, who so graciously is helping us with a virtual anti-vaping campaign. Of course, this is a collaborative effort, and we're trying to see if it's something that can be run for the month of May. And there will be more details to come on this project. And this completes my update for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jackie. That's very
You're
important.
welcome.
I actually just received today a flyer for a training, Ethics Across the Strategic Prevention Framework, run by Ken Plord, April 30th. I forwarded it to you about a half an hour before the meeting. If people are interested, you could forward it to them. It has 2 CEUs, and I know a lot of people, social workers and master's level people, are looking for free training. So this is a free training. DMIS is promoting it. And the Strategic Prevention Framework, of course, is the foundation of the work that we do here. And so that would always be beneficial for folks to learn more about.
Thank you, Carl. I plan to attend. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, great. Thank you. Any questions for Jackie?
This is Helen. I just want to thank Jackie for getting these programs together for your review. The town of West Hartford fills out the application on behalf of this organization. And as you know, the West Hartford Prevention Council is also our local prevention council. About that Ken Plord can do in September will really help educate some of the newer members of this group about that dual role. And I think that would be a very valuable exercise to go through. So I would encourage you to agree to set aside the September meeting for that coalition training that Ken Plord can do. And I don't know if the Heron Project needs more than $500. Natalie, do you know if that is already fully funded by other sources and that's why you're only requesting 500, or can you just elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I think I'm a little bit behind. I did miss a meeting, but I was under the impression that we were getting $6,500.
Well, we certainly have money.
Yeah, so I am behind. Mr. Fisk, do you know more than I know? I'm missing something.
Yeah, hi.
This is Jackie. Hi, this is Jackie, Social Services Liaison again. I wanted, yes, there was a talk with Miss Daly, I believe Lisa Daly, West Hartford Public Schools, in terms of coming up with a proposal around that number on how we could incorporate the anti-vaping message as, you know, in collaboration with the Heron Project. So yes, that was a number that was thrown, and then we would work down from there. You know, see what was actually you know, doable during this time, and what could actually fit the LPC grant guidelines. So yes, you didn't hear that wrong. It was thrown out there as 6,500.
Oh, okay, got it. Thank you. Yeah,
All
so
right.
honestly, the more money, the better, because we have a lot of ideas and things that are totally doable for this school year. So we would be more than happy to take on any money that you want to give away.
Right, so it has to be very specific. So if that's the case, then I would ask Jackie, did you say 500 was what you were proposing?
So 500 would be the contribution to the Herring project specifically. That money is there. What we were looking for is any other additional supportive activities that would focus on anti-vaping, specifically, that could be done before the end of the year, to be funded. And so when the 6,500 came to, into play, it was like, we're aiming for this amount to be spent. It's not all going to go to the Herring project. It's that if the group of students have additional ideas that have an anti-vaping message, that we would consider that proposal. If that makes sense, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. It does sound like, Natalie, that of the $7,100 that we have to spend, that we've obligated 2,000 of it so far, 1,500 to the virtual program, $50, which is negligible, to the vaping workshop, and so far just 500 to the program that you were discussing. Jackie, can you just confirm again, the Heron project that you're suggesting so far, 500, it includes other activities, or it includes significant effort against vaping. Is that right, Natalie?
Heron project itself,
Yeah.
it's primarily focused on substance abuse prevention.
Okay, so it's sort of only partly related to vaping. And so I think what Jackie is asking for is, do you have other projects or other programs that are specific that would help meet the guidelines, which are for vaping?
As a club, we could produce those projects, but I don't know of any other groups that are specifically focused on vaping.
Okay, so maybe in the next couple of days, you and Jackie can talk about some programs that you might have that, because it looks like we do have additional funding still left over, particularly if you can get a price on the bracelet purchase, that would be something that would be an easy fix. So I think Jackie's looking for, and Jackie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think she's looking for additional programs that are more tailored to the protocols that are related to the grant.
Correct. Yes, this is Jackie again.
All right, thank you. So I think, Carl, what we're looking for is a vote, if you will, to fund the vaping workshop for $50, the Heron project for $500, and the virtual on-demand vaping program for $1,500, and then an undetermined amount, it seems, for the West Hartford West Hartford Community Television, the virtual anti-vaping campaign. That doesn't really have a budget yet. Is that right, Jackie?
That is correct. Yes. Yes, Helen.
So I would think that we'd need to come back to this group with a formal dollar amount for them to approve.
Correct.
Do you want to come back with a budget next month and we can approve them all at once rather than do them individually?
I would think.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, we definitely need both on the $50, the $500 contribution, and the $1,500 vaping, the web pages for the middle school, high school, and parents to access.
So you need those today. You need those today done.
That's correct.
Okay. Can we do them as a group or do we have to do them individually?
I think you can do them as a group.
Okay. So Can we have a motion to accept payment of $50 for the council training, the $500 for the, what was the Heron group to receive, and the $1,500 for, what was that again? The
The
group,
virtual on-demand vaping, anti-vaping program.
the virtual on-demand anti-vaping program.
So moved. Bob Macca.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second, Nordia Napier.
Second, Nordia. Okay. Howard? Did Howard join us or no? No.
He is
Okay.
absent.
Okay. Brenda?
Aye.
Jonathan?
Abstain.
And Patricia?
Yay.
And myself, aye. Motion is carried. Okay.
Thank you. And to be clear, that still leaves about $5,100 that remains available to fund either whatever programs Natalie and her group come up with, as well as the West Hartford Community Interactive virtual campaign that they're considering doing. That's I think some videos possibly, and also the material, the purchase that Natalie was that Jackie mentioned, the bracelet purchase that would go along with the Heron project.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that clarification and the details on that, Natalie and Jackie and Helen.
Hopefully we'll get some direction from Amplify about what the subject of their grant is for next year, and we can begin sooner to try and get those off the ground.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
I agree.
think
Thank you.
it would be helpful if the results of this wellness assessment could guide some of that.
Perfect.
Okay, new business, activities for mental health awareness and prevention week. Proclamation?
This is Helen Rubino Turco. I can discuss a proclamation. So in the past, we've developed a proclamation that just helps bring attention to the work that you all do every day, and certainly to now adding the component of mental health. And so we're just dovetailing on national programs that are already ongoing. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and Prevention Week is also held in May. It's typically the second full week of May. And so we do, instead of actually, necessarily running all of these things ourselves, we turn to our community partners for some of the things that they already do. For example, it's not in May, but for example, the Drug Take Back Day is organized by the West Hartford Bloomfield Health District and the police department. So it's not something necessarily that social services or even this group might organize, but it certainly supports the overall mission. And so we do have a number of different partners that are already doing some things that support wellness. But we are looking for additional ones that are specific to anybody can make us aware of them. That would be great. The programs that we already know about are, and Becky, maybe you can fill us in if you know more about them, but the West Hartford Public Library is doing some activities, and the senior centers are also doing some activities. And we have with us Gina Marino from the West Hartford Senior Center. She's the director of both of our locations now. And during the pandemic, I think we all know that the pandemic certainly has framed a lot of the conversation for the last 12 months, particularly in the area of mental health and the challenges. So I think that any proclamation would be, would need to mention, you know, the challenges and the impact that COVID-19 and the pandemic has had. And so, Chris, I see you nodding your head, Chris Dutton from the Bridge. So maybe I just invite anyone to chime in, but I also wanted to hear specifically from Gina Marino from the West Hartford Senior Centers about the kinds of activities that they're doing to keep our seniors engaged. I think, you know, certainly from the leisure services side, we've seen the importance of parks and open space and public land being a health during the pandemic. But I just wanted to turn to Gina, and then perhaps, you know, if Chris or Jonathan Merritt wants to just, you know, outline some of the activities that the Bridge is doing, or the school side is doing as well. Gina.
Thank you, Helen. We've been physically closed, but we have been reaching out to our seniors in a lot of different ways. We're doing some virtual programs, and they can be exercise classes or health awareness programs. We've done a lot of museums and travel logs. We're doing something called America the Beautiful, and we're doing alphabetically a different state each month. So Arkansas is next week, and the seniors get to reserve their spot, and they come over and get a goodie bag that would have, for instance, Arkansas is known for rice, so they're going to get some rice pudding. And they're also known for diamonds. And this is a free program, and we have a limited budget. So they're getting Blue Diamond brand almonds. So we try to keep them engaged that way. They are so grateful for the grab and goes, where they just come in their cars with their masks on and see us and get something and get to talk. A lot of isolation is going on. We've also done quite a few take and create. So again, they'll drive up, they get a bag that has directions on how to do a craft project, and they go home and they do it. We've had paint parties virtual so that they can do that online. Some of our seniors are not technically savvy, so they don't have computers. We've been doing twice a week a email blast through our constant contact, and it goes out to about 1,600 people. Well, we have about 500 members that we do not have an email for. So this week we snail mailed a flyer on our pop-up tent events. So next week we will have tents in both the Elmwood Community Center parking lot and the West Hartford Senior Center parking lot with socially distant, by appointment only programs for the seniors. And we're hoping this is a nice step, a transitional step to get people back into the buildings and back engaged. One of the things that we've been doing from the very beginning are wellness calls. We have volunteers that actually call. We've called all our members at least once, and the ones that wanted follow-up calls are getting calls from some of our members, our volunteer members. So that's been helpful to them. We get a lot of emails and phone calls that people are interested in things. We've been able to do the tax appointments through AARP, which is a volunteer program. And they've also driven to the parking lot. A volunteer goes out and gets their documentation. It's brought into the building, scanned, and brought back out for them. So we're being creative in how we service the seniors, keeping them healthy and safe.
Thank you, Gina. Yeah, I think it's important to note that our senior centers closed, obviously, last March and haven't reopened, and they do plan to reopen at least partially over the next couple of weeks, and then perhaps more broadly in May and June. But in the meantime, having these pop-up tents outside of the senior center will help them engage safely.
And one of the things we're going to do the first week of May is kicking off Mental Health Awareness Month with Dr. David Howe from Mental Health Connecticut. And he's going to do a presentation on strategies to cope with life after COVID. So we're trying to address that, as well as doing a program on meditation, guided meditation during May to promote mental health awareness.
What's with 1,600 people get an email twice a week, chock full of things to do. One of the things that this group has organized are weekly walks in a public park, and they have 20 people, 15, 20 people getting together and taking a socially distant walk in parks, and it just helps everybody, you know, obviously boosting the mental health of those seniors. So thank you for all you're doing, Gina. I just wanted to turn to Chris and or John to talk about what the Bridge is doing specifically with mental health awareness or prevention week, if you have any activities that you'd like to share.
Yeah, so we don't actually have anything specific planned for mental health awareness and prevention week coming up in May at this point, although we're kind of exploring how to do that. You know, traditionally, most of our services are focused on kids who are at risk and teens that are at risk and you know, come to our attention by way of referral or different needs. You know, so we've got our school-based counseling program, our clinics in town, mentoring, teen center, et cetera. You know, but John and I and the rest of the team have started talking about ways to extend and engage throughout the summer as, you know, the sort of safety net of school falls away. But also, you know, John and I have had a lot of conversations in recent weeks about, you know, how do we engage some of the kids that are maybe a little less traditionally at risk, especially right now when what we're seeing is that we have long waiting lists for mentoring. We have long waiting lists at the clinic. School-based counseling is filled up. You know, like the need is really high right now. And we're just hearing lots and lots of kids having a lot of anxiety and worry. And, you know, the world is an unpredictable place right now. I mean, it always is, right? But a little bit more unpredictable. And so we're trying to kind of expand our vision a little bit to maybe appeal to and catch some of those kids that don't necessarily fall into our same typical nets. But, you know, what caught my ear, Helen, when you were talking was this idea that, you know, the pandemic has really shaped and shifted any conversation that we have to have around prevention to really underline the need for mental health awareness throughout the entire community, because, you know, it's at the forefront of lots and lots of people's minds. People who may have never even considered that as an issue in the past are now dealing with, you know, kids and their families who are, you know, not previously predisposed to anxiety or depression, really struggling with like what comes next and how do we manage this, right? Mm-hmm. You know, I just gave a talk last night to some parents from the remote learning experience who are and their kids are pretty anxious about the fall. Right. And these are kids that are not necessarily, again, like I said, disposed to being anxious about things, but they're worried about it. And so, you know, that just kind of is one of those moments where you're like, wow, the community has this need. Right. And so that's that.
Great. I'm sure schools will want to chime in on activities that you're hosting or working on with your students, but I also wanted to just take a moment to remind everybody about the West Hartford Cares card. And this is something that we funded in the past, that our grant has funded in the past, but we have a laminated card that the police and fire and different organizations have and can hand out to people when they see them or run into them. I imagine that you're all familiar with the Cares card. the West Hartford Cares card from this group. But I know that it gets updated on a regular basis. So what I was wondering is, this might be a good time for us to make sure that the CARES card is available on the town website as a PDF. Send people to that. And I was thinking that we could create an 8.5 by 11 flyer that talks about the kinds of information that's available, and then with a QR code of the location on our website. And maybe this is something, Bob Macca, might be something that you can share with the Chamber of Commerce. Maybe they can email out to all of their members and have them print the flyer and post it in their community bulletin board or their lunch break room, so that we can try and disseminate this information, because it may not be for them, but it may be for their next door neighbor or their sibling or their friend. So just trying to make sure that the CARES card information gets out. Like, obviously Leisure Services can put it in all of our facilities, particularly the ones that are open, but they're almost all open, and soon the senior center will be open. But this is the kind of what this group can do to help is, how do we get, the care card has so much information about mental health resources, addiction recovery services, emergency rooms, health, access to healthcare, things for different legal, grief, everything. So it just seems to me that we need to just kind of capture the largest audience we can and direct them to heightened awareness, when we can use this platform to remind our community that there are resources for them. So Bob, I hope I can count on you to help me with that.
Absolutely. We'd be happy to help you.
Thank you. I also spoke briefly with, or corresponded with, Kadzo Kangwana, and I know she couldn't be here today, so she regrets not being here, but some time ago we had discussed having all of the trauma-based therapists that are available in town to be on a list together. And I know the school probably has a list of people that they can draw on, but and I know that social services also maintains a list, but I thought it would be helpful to have, since she is in that business, to just review those lists and update them and check the phone numbers and make sure that they're all, those people are all still functioning, so that we have these resources available, either in an emergency, God forbid, or for individual families that might need this service for something that's private. So I think that's something that she'll bring up to you, Carl, as something that we can add to our list that this group can support in the way of contributing to our community's mental health and prevention activities.
I think that would be extraordinarily helpful, along with the CARES card. And it somewhat goes to what Chris was saying earlier about, I think there's a whole new group of people after a year of isolation and being contained in such a small family group that maybe never had anxiety before, now will have anxiety going out into the larger world and leaving distant learning. It's a brave new world for many, many people that never was before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know that we probably will meet after this proclamation will be developed, but if you trust me to write one, I certainly will. I can share it with everybody through email, and if anyone has any comments or suggestions or changes, we can certainly incorporate them. And then Carl, of course, would have the final say on a final draft that we would present to the mayor to do, and it would probably be done at the May 11th town council meeting,
Okay.
which is, right in the middle of prevention week. So it makes sense to do it then.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, Helen. Does that cover the announcement about Take Back Day?
Hi, this is Jacqueline via Edgar. For Take Back Day, that will be taking place April 24th. It's, I think, managed by West Hartford Police Department. It's going to be at the Brixton Road site, which is 17 Brixton Road, which is West Hartford Public Works. That's where they are based. And I believe it takes place from 10 o'clock in the morning to 2 p.m. on Saturday, April 24th.
Okay, great.
I also have just one more little announcement about the West Hartford Public Library. They have a wonderful program that's going to be offered in honor of May, the Mental Health Month. It's a workshop or lecture entitled, "Should I Teach My Child to See Color?" It's virtual. It's on May 4. I think it will close, pretty soon, but there's still seats available, and it's going to be offered on May 4th at 7 p.m. And the presenter is Miss Kenya Rutland, and this is something that she's very passionate about, just teaching real-life strategies on open discussions with children about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So that's something that I just wanted to also announce. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. I forgot to highlight the library's event. And
that's okay, no problem. We're a team. It's good.
He actually led the diversity, equity, inclusion training for the town of West Hartford over the last 5 months or so, and is a very dynamic speaker. And that question of should we teach our children to see color is very a very important discussion to hear from his perspective, and he's a really engaging speaker. So I would encourage everyone to consider either attending that or sending any interested people to get a seat at that virtual lecture on May 4th through the public library.
Okay. Thank you. Suleiman, I see you sent some emails while we were in this meeting. Is that a follow-up to the assessment? Is that the survey?
Yeah, so just in the chat, I just put the link to the survey directly then in Google Doc, and I think actually maybe Brianna may have done the same in sending an email. So I think you guys can feel free to access either resources, either to complete the survey on your own or forward along the survey as you guys see fit.
You made it easy for everyone. Thank you. Okay, public comment. Where is our moderator?
I'm right here. There is no standard callers. The only one was Brianna and Jackie.
Oh, okay. Well, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn unless people have other comments. Could go enjoy the beautiful weather. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second that. Bob Macca.
Bob, okay. And Brenda, how do you feel about that?
I'm on board.
Okay. And Jonathan?
On board as well.
Okay. And Nordia?
I'm on board.
And Patricia?
Count me in.
It's unanimous. Have a lovely evening, all. Enjoy the weather.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you all.
Everyone stay well.
Thank you.
Bye.